Okay. Thank you, Megan. So I'd like to call this quarterly meeting of the Rural Maryland Council to order. I guess it's about 12:03. I want to thank all of you for being here on time and being here in spite of some of the bad weather that we may be getting. I wanted to take a minute to give some new members a minute to maybe introduce themselves. I'm not sure if all of you know them. The first one I had on my list here was Darius Johnson. Is he here?
I thought I saw Darius.
Yep, I'm here. Good afternoon.
Would you like to say a little bit about yourself? No? Maybe having trouble unmuting themselves.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm actually driving right now, so
Ooh.
I'm trying not to deal with my phone too much. But yeah, I just want to say I'm grateful to be a part of Rural Maryland Council. I'm an Eastern Shore native. Yeah, I grew up in Kent County, went to Washington College, spent a few years living and working in Baltimore before I moved back home, and spent a few years working for Eastern Shore Land Conservancy in communications and in community revitalization. And then I ended up taking a job with Kent Attainable Housing as their first executive director back in May of 2021. So that's what I'm currently doing. So I'm just glad to be a part of this organization. I have a big love for, rural America, rural communities and everything that it stands for, and just looking forward to being involved.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, and be careful driving. There's a lot of distracted driving going on, so you don't have to touch your phone anymore.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I have Jerry McLaren. Do we have him on? Okay.
I didn't see him. He could be one of the numbers.
Okay. Dave Baker.
He is the new USDA State Office Director of Rural Development. I didn't see him on here either.
Okay. And Zach Tyndall.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know some of the faces on the call today. My name is Zach Tyndall. I'm the mayor of the town of Berlin. I'll be serving as one of MML's representatives for this body. A little bit about myself. Prior to becoming mayor, I was a council member for the town of Berlin for 4 years, and then I'm coming up on my second year as mayor. Previously, my background's in fire and EMS, so I'm a firefighter paramedic by trade. I work for Salisbury University running their medical simulation center, teaching healthcare professionals. So that's a little bit about myself. I also have an MBA and undergrad in management and finance. So any way I can help out with this group, feel free to lean on me as a resource.
Thank you. Welcome. Okay, then next item on the agenda is the approval of the December 1st, 2021 meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Susan.
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes or corrections, adjustments that we need to make? Hearing none, all approved, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're good. And Charlotte, I'm going to turn it over to you for the introduction of our first speaker.
Great. Well, it's my pleasure to introduce our first guest speaker. He was first elected to the Maryland House of Delegates in 2010. He serves District 14 in Montgomery County. He's a graduate of the University of Maryland, where he's also an adjunct professor, and recently served on the State Park Investment Commission, and he is the House of Delegates Majority Leader. So please welcome Delegate Eric Luedtke.
Well, thank you very much for that kind introduction. Great to see everyone here today. I should start just by thanking each and every one of you for advocating for rural Maryland. And we've got a lot of legislators on the call as well, who are also advocates for rural Maryland, both Democrats and Republicans alike, which is fantastic always. So I'll just provide a little bit of an update about some of the work that's going on that may be of interest. And I'm happy to take questions about any issues I mentioned or any other issues that people are interested in hearing more about. As Charlotte mentioned, I had the honor of serving with members from across the state, as well as former Governor Paris Clendenning, on the State Parks Investment Commission over the past 6 months. Just yesterday, we introduced a piece of legislation that will help codify some of the recommendations of that commission, which we're calling the Great Maryland Outdoors Act. That bill seeks to create significant new investments in our state park system in a number of ways, by increasing the staffing within the Park Service, by expanding investment in the creation of new parks and new recreational opportunities, by hopefully, and one of our goals is to completely clear the existing critical maintenance backlog within our state park system. So I'm very excited about that. There are pieces of the recommendations that will also be enacted through the capital and operating budget, so they won't necessarily all appear in that one bill. But I think it's a tremendous opportunity for the state. Our state parks are great places, but they're overcrowded, they're underfunded. And the result of it will be investments in parks all over the state, including a lot of our rural parks. So places like Point Lookout and Greenwell in Southern Maryland. We're going to have to make an investment in over the next couple of years in restoring the Bill Burton Fishing Pier in Cambridge, just outside of Delegate Sample Hughes District. We'll see some projects in Cedarville State Forest in Delegate Proctor's district, and the NCR Trail in Gunpowder Falls in Delegate Guyton's district, and just all over the state. There is tremendous support from House and Senate leadership for that, and actually the governor in his proposed budget increased some of the investments that he's proposing making in the park system, including some new money to clear that critical maintenance backlog. I think this is going to be, what I tell people, big picture, Maryland has had two sort of great eras of park building. We had it in the Great Depression era during the New Deal. We had it again in the 60s and 70s. It's been 50 years since then. I'm hoping this becomes the third great era of park building in Maryland. But, it's not just about the creation of new parks. We have to reinvest in the parks we already have, some of which are overcrowded, some of which are underutilized. So, for example, you'll find that Assateague is one of the most overcrowded parks in the system. People love it for the beaches, but we've also got great opportunities not far away at Pocomoke River State Park, and parts of that park are a little bit underutilized at times. So I'm excited for that bill. In addition to that, Senator Alfrith and I are introducing legislation that commits Maryland to a 30 by 30 goal. So if you're not aware, the federal administration has been proposing a program that would seek to preserve 30% of Maryland's land and water by 2030. Maryland is actually well on the way towards achieving that goal. So the legislation sets a 30 by 30 goal, but then also a 40 by 40 goal. The single largest category of preserved lands in Maryland is agricultural land that are under some sort of easement. That bill, I think, will help maintain the long-term commitment and argument for strong funding of our agricultural land preservation programs, as well as some of our other programs. It also includes a provision that would increase funding significantly for the Mel Noland Woodlands Incentives Fund, which is a fund that's focused on helping forest managers, both private and public forest managers, do a better job stewarding their forests. So I think that's going to be hopefully a good outcome of that legislation. Beyond that, the agenda for the General Assembly this year, at least in the House, the speakers made clear that our biggest priority is in helping working and middle-class families and businesses, particularly small businesses that have been hit hard by the pandemic, and taking advantage of some new opportunities we might have to grow our economy as we come out of the pandemic. Obviously, rural small businesses are a big part of that conversation, as are rural families. So, there's going to be legislation that's statewide, but I think is important for rural parts of the state as much as it is for other parts of the state. For example, focused on expanding access to childcare. We know that's one of the biggest barriers to workers re-entering the workforce. So we will have legislation both on the supply side in terms of trying to create more access to childcare. We've actually lost childcare providers statewide. The problem has been more acute in rural parts of the state than urban parts of the state. So we're trying to rebuild the capacity in terms of expanding the number of providers, as well as increasing support for lower income folks who have trouble paying for childcare so that they can re-enter the workforce. We're going to see a new focus on cybersecurity, and that's very much a bipartisan effort, which will help grow cybersecurity options around the state. Maryland's seeing a lot of growth in the cybersecurity economy. And one of the great things about cyber work and other IT related work is that as long as we can build out, as long as we maintain the commitment to expanding broadband infrastructure that the state really tripled down on last year, and as long as we can provide high quality broadband to people all across the state, particularly in rural areas, those jobs are available anywhere, right? Like you don't need to live in Baltimore City or Silver Spring to hold one of those jobs. And then at the same time, there are IT related economic opportunities that frankly are stronger in more rural parts of the state than more urban parts of the state. And an example of that is the potential growth in the data center industry. Virginia has been very successful in growing its data centers. We enacted a couple years ago now legislation to create actually even stronger incentives for data centers in Maryland than they have in Virginia, and that's already bearing fruit. We have a major data center that's relocating to Frederick County. Those facilities are fairly large, so they're as long as they have access to high quality electricity and high quality broadband, which we're continuing to build out. There are great opportunities, particularly in some of our towns like Hagerstown and Cumberland, in the areas directly around them that have land that's available that's less expensive than the land you might see in Germantown, right? So that economic development conversation is something we're certainly working on. And then there are a range of other issues that we're going to be confronting this session generally, many of which, of course, have impacts on Southern Maryland. The conversation about cannabis legalization, as recreational cannabis eventually will likely be legalized. A lot of the grow operations in particular are likely to be operated in more rural parts of the state. And then, a range of discussions around other issues. But Charlotte, if there's anything else you want me to cover, let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions. I can talk all day. So
I did want to know more about the work opportunities tax credit.
Sure.
HB2.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. As we've been trying to expand jobs in Maryland, we actually have a range of tax incentive and economic development programs that are supposed to create jobs. Some of them are marginally effective. Some of them are not effective at all, right? And so we've been looking around for opportunities to create incentives that really do work. And we happened on this federal program called the Work Opportunities Tax Credit. And it's a very straightforward program. It creates a tax credit incentive for businesses to hire from groups that have more trouble finding jobs. So veterans, people with disabilities, people who are on public assistance, so a range of folks who, for various reasons have more barriers to employment. One of the big complaints we've always heard about state economic development programs from business owners is it's a hassle, right? Like they don't want to go through the application process, it's extra paperwork and all of that. So what this bill does is it creates a state match for the federal work opportunity tax credit that will increase the incentive for hiring for businesses, but at the same time, it doesn't create any new bureaucracy because that's an existing program. So it's not additional paperwork from anyone already benefiting from it. The process is already administered by the State Department of Labor. We had our hearing on it earlier this week, and it's rare, I will tell you, for me to sit at a table and have both labor unions and chambers of commerce testifying in favor of a bill. So it's garnering some pretty widespread support, and I think it's got a decent chance of passage.
Yes, Delegate. My name is Bill Valentine. I'm a former Allegheny County Commissioner. I'm now working with the town of Hancock in Washington County. There is a state park known as Fort Tunalloway State Park, partially located inside the town limits of Hancock. At one time, it was what you expect of a state park. There were hiking trails, picnic areas. It borders on the rail trail. But about 10, 11 years ago, the state closed the park to public access. They want to do a study, see if they could locate the site of the old stockade Fort Tunalloway that the park was named after. I read the results of that study. It was completed like 5 years ago. And the results of the study was they're not even sure if the fort was located within the limits of that state park. However, the park is still surrounded with no trespassing signs. It's totally off limits to the public. And the town of Hancock would really like to see that park open back to the public.
Well, I would too. I'll tell you what. I'm happy to reach out to you directly. Actually, I'll if the chat is open, I'm going to put my email address in the chat, and if you could email me, I'm happy to work with you on that. That we do have a number of properties owned by the state like that across the state that would be great for recreational opportunities, but which haven't been opened or haven't been developed in terms of trail building and things like that, in part because frankly, the state of Maryland hasn't been investing in it, right? So I don't know the exact details of the story behind Fort Tunalloway, but certainly that's something I'd love to work on with you. And I know the delegates that represent the area would, I'm sure, be interested in helping. But there's also, there's other assets, there's other park assets in your neck of the woods that we can be investing in. For example, Rocky Gap. There's some proposals to do beach restoration, expand camping opportunities there that I think are going to be part of the conversation. I think, frankly, Woodmont needs to be better advertised because that's some of the nicest trails I've been on in the state. Although, we the last time I was up there, we were hiking and found some recent bear scat, and we were keeping our eyes out a little bit as we were hiking. But please do reach out to me. I'd love to help out in whatever I can with Fort Tunalloway.
Well, thank you. I'll reach out to you.
Thanks.
Do we have any other people with questions? If not, I'd like to thank you very much, Delegate Luedtke, for taking time out to come visit us today. It's always good to hear that people are paying attention to the rural areas of Maryland. And we really appreciate you taking some time. And for me personally, the broadband issue is at the top of my agenda since I am the treasurer of the Maryland Broadband Cooperative. So we're doing our best to get those blank places off the map where we can't get broadband here in Southern Maryland and across the state. So
that's great. That's great. I'll tell you, broadband at this point is as fundamental a utility as electric and water. And, the fact that anybody doesn't have access to it in the richest state in the country is a little ridiculous. So I appreciate your working on that. And thank you for having me.
We'll get that solved.
Good.
And thank you for coming here. Thank you.
Have a good weekend, everyone. Good luck with the storm.
And before we go to our next speaker, I do want to just recognize that Secretary Jeannie Hadaway-Riccio is here. I saw her picture up there earlier. Good to see you. She's always been a friend of the RMC and the Rural Maryland Councils. And I also see that Deputy Secretary Steve Conley is here. The Secretary of Ag. So, Ag is an important part of our organization here at the Tri-County Council since I've been acting director several times of the Southern Maryland Ag Development Commission. So welcome. Charlotte, do you want to go ahead and do the introduction for our next guest speaker?
Sure. We were the Department of Agriculture as well and the University of Maryland Extension partnered for a federal grant on farm stress. They've been working on this issue for the last couple of years. And so we invited them to come talk a little bit about the current efforts related to dealing with farmers and mental health. So Dr. Kim is here.
Hi, everyone. I think it's a good afternoon before the snowstorm. Charlotte, should I share my screen or?
Do you want to, whichever, I have it. If you want to share your phone.
Okay, if you want to share it, that will be, yes, great. Thank you.
If I can, all right, hold up.
So while Charlotte is sharing, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jinhee Kim. We're the University of Maryland Extension, and I'm presenting some of the work that we've been working with closely with the Maryland State Department of Agriculture. And I have a colleague who is actually leading the project, Dr. Alex Chen. He is on the meeting. He is here in the meeting as well. So he will be speaking about some of the activities to date, and as well as answering some of any questions have specific related to the project. So Charlotte, I think we are still seeing the screen. If
you don't see it up here?
No,
yes, I think
it's
yeah.
the agenda.
Yes, I think you have to stop share and then like reshare.
Yeah, let me see if
So
it's coming up now. It's coming up now.
yes, so
Okay, now do you see it?
yes,
Great.
thank you. Yes, so this just wanted to talk about some of the background before we talk about this specific grant. University of Maryland has been providing a number of programs and resources related to the farm stress, thanks to various grants and partnerships, including the Rural Maryland Council. One of the initial grants that we received with the Maryland Association of Soil Conservation Districts years ago, we received the funding and then sent our faculty to Michigan to have our faculty trained. That was done by led by my colleague Darren Jarbo, who is not here today. But that was instrumental. That Rural Maryland Council grant was instrumental to start some of this program related to the program that I'm speaking today. And additionally, we have a different USDA grants as well as a SAMHSA grant that are discussing or addressing some of the mental health and stress issues in rural Maryland as well as the agriculture communities. Next slide, please. So for this particular grant, USDA has funded Farm and Ranch Stress Assistance Network grants. And it started with some of the regional grants. So the grant started a few years ago and went to regionally supporting like East, Northeast, or the different regions. And then Maryland has been participating in the Northeast region of the grant. But last year that USDA made the funding available, Farm and Ranch Stress Assistance Network, State Department of Agriculture. Specific grant, the funding goes to the State Department of Agriculture. And for that grant, State Department of Agriculture, Stephen is here. Just want to recognize without his support that we couldn't apply for this grant. And that grant is University of Maryland Extension is a subawardee of the grant from the State Department of Agriculture. Amount is about $500,000 for 1 year. And then I want to recognize the principal investigators, Alex Chen, Shannon Deal, Darren Jarbo, and then myself. Next slide, please. So this grant really facilitates the USDA strategic goals related to the rural prosperity and economic development, and then for the foster productive, sustainable use of our national forest systems and lands, and also for the provide all Americans with access to a safe and nutrition secure food supply. Next slide, please. So I also wanted to recognize that some of the previous efforts that before this funding became available, there are a number of group of people discussing very important issue of the farm stress and then agriculture industry. And that included, I recognize some of the folks already, the Rural Maryland Council, Rural Maryland Health Associations, as well as the Office of Rural Health in the State Department, and then Farm Credit, and some of the other folks. We discuss about the importance of the farm stress, and then ideas generated different ideas. So that idea is translated into this grant. Major approaches are, so for this funding, really is consolidating various efforts, extension or the Maryland State Department of Agriculture, and then other partners addressing farm stress. So we were leveraging other resources and programs, but this funding is really made it possible to coordinate different efforts addressing farm stress of the farmers and farm families. And also this funding makes it available for us to provide additional educational training dedicated to the farm stress, which was not always possible. There was other component of the grant, other component of the programs, but this funding really help us to dedicate our resources and efforts for the farm stress. And the other aspects are that we recognize the importance, the lack of the mental health services available to the farmers and farm families and communities. So we are able to provide the mental health services for the farmers and farm families. So some of the major approaches are behavioral health counseling and referral as a form of the assistance. So we provide the services for free for up to like 7 counseling sessions. And then also we will be providing farm telephone helplines and websites, and additional training programs and workshops for individuals who are working in farming and their families, and also those who are advocates for individuals who are engaged in farming and other occupations relating to the agriculture. So, and also we are doing various types of outreach services and activities, including dissemination of information and materials. Next slide, please. So as I previously mentioned, some of the farm stress management work has been done with the various programs. So UME has provided education and outreach on topics related to mental health, physical wellness for farmers and families and communities, and focusing on resources to alleviate these stressors driven by financial and legal and mental health issues. So these are our 3 main goals have been raise awareness and provide training and create the shared resources. And some of the topic areas that we have provided training and educations are mental health, communication strategies, managing stress, grief and loss, stigma reduction, navigating health insurance to access mental health services, legal resources, financial management, and succession planning. And we have had various supports from the Maryland Department of Agriculture, the SAYER grant, regional grant, as well as the USDA grant. Next slide, please. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to ask Alex Chen, who is the PI of the project with the Shenandoah. I'm going to if you can go back to, yes, I'm going to stop here, and Alex, could you join?
Sure, yeah, thanks. So hi, everyone. I may have met some of you at the Rural Maryland Summit, which is the picture here of our table. Maybe some of you walked by, but my name is Alex Chan. I am the Mental and Behavioral Health Specialist for the University of Maryland Extension in our Family and Consumer Sciences program. So this is actually one of my favorite projects to be working on. I've really enjoyed working on putting together programming in this issue, tailoring things. So I'm going to share a little bit about the project activities to date, and as well as some of our exciting, new components that are coming online. So as you saw in a previous slide, the work began, or the money, became available in September. So we've already had a few months to start getting some things off the ground. And we've reached over 400 people, maybe a little higher now that we've had some events in January. I think that 400 number was through December. And one of the things that I want to highlight, so Jinhee mentioned that we are referring people to counseling, and we are covering the cost of up to 7 sessions of therapy. And we feel really good about that because we've actually contracted with a few providers to train them in the culture of farming. So some colleagues and I from the University of Delaware, along with myself and one of our faculty from University of Maryland, we all collaborated to develop kind of what equates to a cultural sensitivity training, but about farmers and for the people who serve them in the healthcare industry. And so over the past couple of years, even before we received this grant, we started to develop that programming. And since the grant came online, we've actually been able to deliver it to a lot more therapists. So now we've trained about 40 therapists and social workers on the Eastern Shore in the culture of farming. And what we hope, actually, we have evidence from our surveys that show that they really learn a lot about the culture of farming and see how they can alter their practice to better serve members of the farming community that may come into their offices. So we are excited to keep that going, and that's a really important part of our project here is this free counseling service. So that's been a really that's been a favorite of mine. My background is marriage and family therapy. I'm licensed in Maryland and DC, and so this is very close to my heart to be able to help other providers better serve this community. Next slide. Oops.
Sorry about that. I'll get it back.
No worries.
Okay.
I see a comment about somebody else wanting that training. Sure. I'll drop my email in the box here and you'll see it again. You can contact me about scheduling that training if you are in touch with therapy practices. Oh, great. Good. Glad you all are listening. So it's, yeah, we're happy to keep giving the training. It's 3 hours and we have, several presenters ready to train, including myself. So, so we also have had some good feedback on our general presentations that Jinhee has shared about. So some of the feedback that we've gotten initially from our other array of educational presentations that people are learning a lot of stuff. They're seeing that stress is not a choice. We're moving away from that stigmatized view of mental health as like a moral failing. They're also getting concrete advice, on managing stress and serving others who are dealing with stress. This data specifically that you're seeing came from a pesticide inspectors workshop. So not only are we training farmers and farm families themselves, we are also training the people who work with them, who may not have a mental health background themselves, but who are met with people who, depending on the year, depending on the time of, the year it is or what year it is, may be going through a lot and maybe unsure how to respond to that or what resources are relevant. So we have adapted the list of trainings that Jinhee showed you all to be relevant for both the families themselves and providers who serve farm families. So the numbers you see, the graphs you see, that the providers, the pesticide inspectors who, I may be making a big assumption, but they probably didn't get into their work to think about mental health that much, but they reported some big gains in their confidence in being able to promote mental health resources for farm families, and as well as being able to understand the warning signs of suicide and understanding the impact of stress on our bodies. And overall, what we think this approach does is creates that supportive community around people. You don't need to have gone to school to be a mental health professional to be part of that supportive community. That's it's not necessary, and the feedback that we're getting from our trainings shows that people are really gaining some of those skills. So yeah, next slide. So, and this is, oh yeah, so these are our partners for the therapy side of things. We've got what we think is a fairly good representation of the Eastern Shore based on the locations of these places, the top three. And we, so Bodie's up in Cecil County, Corsica River kind of covers midshore, as well as For All Seasons is throughout the shore. So we are happy to be in partnership with them. And the Center for Healthy Families is on campus here in College Park. So, you know, because this is a statewide project and there are farmers all over the state, we're trying to also build up our connections with other providers in different locations. But so far, the Eastern Shore has been on top of their game in terms of jumping into the partnership with us. So we're really happy about that. And like I said, the intake plus 6 sessions, so about 7 total, is reimbursed by the grant. So we hope that that's enough to get somebody started. And depending on therapeutic approaches, you can actually, you know, some people, depending on the issue, depending on the approach, can make a lot of progress in using a brief therapy model. So we're hoping that this removes some of the barriers to access. One of the other things that, of course, is a barrier to access is thinking about, you know, transportation and technology. And we've developed resources related to assisting folks if you know, using Zoom or telehealth is problems. We've got, you know, how-tos on setting yourself up. We've got you know, technology assistance available for people if that is a barrier themselves. But we're really excited to remove that financial barrier for the beginning. So next slide. All right, so if your interest has been piqued by the project in general, we encourage you to go visit our website and sign up for our mailing list. You will get, I believe it's a monthly newsletter on our upcoming events. Our next one that's coming up, well, we are at a lot of the agronomy meetings and farm producer meetings and those types of things that are run by our agriculture agents. But we also offer independent meetings that are more, you know, publicly available. And the next one in that realm is actually coming up on February 12th, and it's going to be in Carroll County. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link in the chat box here. But the next one in Carroll County is family communications and succession planning. So we know that, you know, part of the, you know, from a business point of view, part of the, you know, the risk factors there is not having a plan, you know, for after the owning generation passes on. And so, and that my background, we know that there's lots of potentially contentious family relations issues happening in that realm. So my colleague, Paul Geringer, does the legal side, and I do the family relations side of the training, where people get, again, concrete strategies on having conversations about difficult things. Again, you know, if Farm Stress is one of my favorite projects overall, this is one of my favorite trainings because I get to talk about family relations stuff, which is a passion of mine. So yeah, I encourage folks to sign up. That one is in person in Carroll County in, I guess, just over 2 weeks. So feel free to sign up, register for that. It's free, and you know, we do have a snow date of a couple weeks after that in case it snows. So we're ready. But yeah, that's our next event. And for more, you can sign up for our newsletter and get information that way. And please, any questions, you can ask them now, as well as call me. And if you got folks who are employed in the farming industry, or they're like immediate, you know, household members who you think maybe want that mental health referral, those people themselves can contact me with the information, and I'll help them get set up with their most nearest provider that's in our project. So any questions?
Thank you, Alex. Thanks, Charlotte, for the opportunity to speak, but I wanted to see if Stephen Connolly, I think Steve is here, if he wants to chime in or speak. Sorry, we did not check in with you earlier, but we appreciate the partnerships and opportunity to work on this project.
This is John. I do have one observation that I just wanted to make. And this is from personal experience. A lot of people in the farming community are very, they view their personalities based on rugged individualism. And they're very reluctant to reach out for help. And I think that that's one of the difficulties when you're trying to do mental health things in the rural areas. A lot of times the people are very reluctant to reach out for help. Have you been able to break through that personal barrier that a lot of people have in the rural areas?
So have we been able to break through that barrier? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that's why part of our, that's why we're also not just targeting the families specifically, we're also targeting the providers and the people who work with them. We're also sneaking our way into some of those meetings where they're already present, just saying, hey, here we are, you weren't planning for this, but here we are. So, and I actually like doing that. I mean, we've gotten a good reception so far. But yeah, so we're trying to create that community of supportiveness around it. So training the service providers, training other community members to be more sensitive around the issue so that the overall norms begin to change. And we do have direct programming about stigma reduction, especially internalized stigma about I'm okay talking about somebody else's mental health because that's one degree of separation there, or the topic in general. But when it comes to me, no, I'm that rugged individual. So we do have trainings about that too that are geared both towards the family and towards the people who work with them. So we're trying to approach it from many different angles so that the messaging and the supportiveness has an opportunity to be in the environment.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Do we have any other questions?
Oh,
Amy Williams has her hand up. Yeah.
I was just wondering if we've either had the opportunity or looking at the opportunity to speak to the different county farm bureaus or the Maryland Farm Bureau and kind of reach some of our farmers on that level as well.
That would be lovely. I did go to the Women's Leadership Summit or Council for the Farm Bureau in November and presented there with my colleague Emily Zobel. So we had a great time there. And but I have not yet gone to the other local farm bureaus. So if you want to invite us out, that's we've got a team throughout the state, several folks, so I can travel, of course, but we also got some of our team members on the shore in Western Maryland. So there's likely one of us that can be present for those more local meetings. And we definitely want to be there because, basically we need the invites.
Okay.
Elizabeth Chung has her hand raised.
Yep.
Yes, good afternoon. This is Elizabeth Chung from AAC in Frederick. I just want to give a thank you to Dr. Chen who came to Frederick to assess the needs that we have. They're not just our rural or suburban area, but also the limited income provisions, the minority, ethnic minority, and also the immigrant. I kind of work with Extension back 4 decades ago. It is such a refreshing to hear Dr. Kim. Thank you so much that so meeting you, having Dr. Chen to come and talk to us all the various services we really need, particularly the mental health part of your programming and education. And I'm just looking forward to to work with your department as well. Not since you have this wonderful program you just presented, but we're looking forward to other services that you can bring over to Western Maryland. So thank you so much.
Yep, glad to be working with you too.
Charlotte, do you see any other hands up?
I don't see any hands up.
Well, I want to thank you for the work you're doing and also for coming here. It's an important issue. We've actually had some people that were engaged with SMATIC in some way that have decided that rather than ask for help, they decided to end it. So it's a very important issue. It's very relevant under these times of high stress with COVID, and we really appreciate you working the issue, and we'll do everything we can to improve your outreach and put you in front of people that are receptive to your help. So I want to thank you, Dr. Kim and Dr. Chan, for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Charlotte, do we have, are we ready to go on to the committee reports?
Sure.
For the first committee report, Charlotte, do you want to do the financials?
Okay, I pulled it up on the screen, but it is going to be hard to read. So I apologize. It is very small. Even I'm having a problem with it. So for this fiscal year, we're in fiscal year 2022. And we received a little over $6 million in revenue from the state. As of, I think this is earlier this month, we have expended majority of the grant funds. We have 1 or 2 outstanding grant agreements to process, but majority of the funds have been dispensed to. You'll see $5,334,347 have been expended in grant funds. On the operating side, we've expended $253,136, which leaves us a balance of $246,000, which would get us to the end of the year, June 30th, 2022.
Thank you, Charlotte. You may download this, and if you have a little trouble reading it, do like I do and put it on 11 by 17 paper, so it's quite readable at that size. Charlotte, do you need a motion to accept the
Yes.
report?
So moved.
A second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Charlotte does a great job.
Thanks.
That's certainly true. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you, Charlotte. The next agenda item is the Rural Maryland Prosperity Investment Fund. Susan, I saw you on here.
Yes, and I'm proud of myself that I actually unmuted before I had to. So 2 years into the pandemic, I remembered to do that. Yes, thank you, John. So very excited to announce that RMPIF and MERDAF was put in the budget this year, FY23 budget for $9 million. So woohoo, that's super exciting. Looking for all the support we can get. Along those lines, the RMPIF committee will be meeting on Tuesday, March 22nd. We'll probably be having a meeting in February also. The committee will be getting together to go over just last year's procedures and if anything needs to be tweaked for this coming year. The proposal phase 1 applications will be available Monday, April 25th. And then the proposals will be due Friday, May 20th. Charlotte has listed other dates, but I'll probably hold off on those because announcing them because I'm sure things might, hopefully nothing will change, but you don't really know. So that's what I have. Charlotte, I don't know if you wanted to go into any more details or in depth.
No, I would just say, please, everybody thank the governor for his support. We wouldn't have that funding without him.
Yes, well, thank you, Governor, because we were very, I wouldn't say we were surprised, but we were very grateful that he fully funded us to the amount we were asking for.
Yes, it's fabulous, absolutely fabulous. And it's a great opportunity to help all these organizations that want to help their rural communities. So we absolutely, please say thank you, thank you, thank you. That's all, John. I'm
Oh.
good then, if Charlotte's good.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the legislative committee. Do we have either Lindsay or Chris here?
I'm here.
There you are, Chris.
Am I that far away or are you that low?
I'm that low.
Yeah. So I don't know where Lindsay is, but you can see up on the screen, thank you, is our legislative priorities. And the first thing I want to draw attention to is the fiscal year budget priorities. Off to the right, that artwork has been made into a postcard, and that is getting mailed out to all our supporters, all the legislators, all the interested parties, simply because we are, going to be unable to do a lot of what we do in person, like we normally do in person. We're going to be unable to do that, so that's going to take the part of that. I would like to start out by announcing that we are listed for $9 million in the governor's budget, but Susan stole my thunder, so we're going to skip over that. But again, thank you to the administration for your help and support. The legislative committee, we're meeting every Monday now. We have a fairly robust meeting, and usually takes an hour, maybe a little longer. We go over bills that we're supporting, bills that we have written letters of support to. There are a few this year that we're opposing. It could get really boring if I went through any of that now, but I do invite you to sneak into the Zoom for us on Mondays. And just real quick, I guess, I want to go down, our budget priorities is, of course, the RMC for $9 million, the Meridaf for $150,000, the Rural Maryland Council, this is the operating money for $500,000. Every regional council getting $200,000, and then as always, we're supporting the work that Marbidco does to the tune of about $5 million in funding for their programs. Some of the legislative priorities this year are, of course, broadband and infrastructure as they've been, as well as transportation and workforce development. This year, we've done a little bit expanding viable agriculture, aquaculture, forestry in rural communities. We work very closely with the Maryland Forestry Department, with Dan, and we do the best we can helping with their projects, as well as Project Open Space and some of the other ones. Rural health is always another thing that we're interested in. That has taken on a new component over the past 2 years, where now that's tied in with broadband. That's tied in with access to services over the internet, and there's not really a lot of rural health access, and there's not a lot of broadband access. So it's a pretty bad intersection. I think I don't have the dates here. I know Charlotte does. We have a couple events coming up. I know February 10th is our online advocacy day. And then I forget it. I'm not gonna confuse people. Go ahead, Charlotte.
Okay, so it's Rural Maryland Day, February 10th. Please register. We set up appointments with legislators. It's all virtual. Sorry, I can't provide meals, but maybe next year. And then Friday, March 25th will be Maryland Day. This will be an outdoor lunch and event at Lawyers Mall in Annapolis. So that's our only in-person event this year. Hopefully we'll be able to pull it off, fingers crossed. And then, we will have the board meeting also in April, but I don't know if that's going to be in person yet or not.
Hey, I think I have it all covered, although Steve just made himself visible. He might want to say something.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Co-Chairman, I take no responsibility here.
Mr. Co-Chairman, you're doing an excellent job. So you need to elevate yourself to just chairman. Anyway, very delighted to announce the governor has also included an extra $1 million in Mark Bitko's budget to address two important needs that have been previously discussed by this group. One is related to livestock processing capacity in the state. Our animal producers have very long wait times to get their animals processed, and following up some money we had from the federal government last year, we're going to be able to offer the livestock processing equipment grant program this coming summer with $500,000 in additional funding. So we're grateful for that. And then finally, another $500,000 is in our budget for a repeat performance of our Maryland Wood Products Industry Equity Investment Fund program to help our sawmills and loggers and other forest products producers purchase equipment and upgrade their facilities. So again, funding is becoming available this summer if the General Assembly approves it. So I thank the governor and thank all of you for support of our efforts to help our rural businesses.
Steve, that's absolutely great. And it shows the overwhelming and incredible success of this committee, of which I am chairman.
Absolutely.
I am nothing without Lindsay. This is very much co-chair or I am sub-chair. But I think that's it, John. Unless you've got anything
Lindsay
else
is here. I don't know. Just Lindsay, do you want to say something?
I wrote her earlier and I can't find her, so I don't know.
I am here, but
Oh, there you are.
Chris did a great job, so I have nothing to add.
Well, good afternoon, Lindsay. We're glad to see you. And I want to note that, that date we have of March 25th for Maryland Day. Last year, the day before was super wet. And the actual day that we had the event the weather was quite good. So I have assigned the same member of staff this year to be in charge of getting us good weather this year. So we're expecting good weather on that date if you want to come out. And I think that ends the legislative report. Anything else on that, Charlotte?
Can I get an acceptance of the 2022 legislative priorities?
Yes, thank you. I forgot. We do need to accept our legislative priorities, and I ask for a motion to accept our priorities as presented by our co-chairman.
So moved. Yeah.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion on the priorities? I would say one thing that the legislative committee, I attend most of the meetings. I find them to have more information in a more concise format than any other source that I found out of the various organizations that I'm a member of. So I would say that they are doing a fantastic job of boiling it down to a fairly small number of concise descriptions of the bills. And with that, I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, thank you. Now we have the Agriculture Committee. Matt Tufo, are you here?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief, not too much to report. Just want to let this body know that the Taste of Maryland Agriculture is still a go for March 3rd. It was scheduled for February 3rd, but they moved it to March 3rd. And as of last night, it's still a go. The measures that Maryland Live has put in place for COVID is they all look to be doing well, and the case numbers here in Anne Arundel County continue to decrease. So that's a good sign as well. So if you haven't already gotten your ticket to that, please do so. And there are also hotel blocks available too for the event at the new venue at Maryland Live. I was unable to attend the Maryland Agriculture Commission call last week because I had a conflict. So normally I do an update on that call. So nothing to report there. And then lastly, just a thank you to Professor Kim and Alex for their work in the farm stress. I know Lindsay, myself, and a few others on this call had conversations almost over a year ago about, moving that program forward and how the RMC and the Agriculture Committee especially could be helpful in getting the word out. So anything we could do, continuing when you roll out that program, please let us know. We're here to be, a voice and engage in the rural communities. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I have nothing else to report.
Thank you, Matt. That's very helpful. And moving on to the Joint Planning and Development Committee, Mike Telke.
Mike's unable to be here with us, but he did ask me just to give his report. The committee is meeting on March 10th. They continue to implement our strategic plan. And I think we gave a progress report at the last meeting, and we'll look to give a progress report at the next meeting. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Charlotte. The Rural Maryland Foundation, is Dan Ryder here?
Yes, I'm here. I'm on the road. So first off, I'd just like to thank Rural Maryland Council and everybody for your past and continuing support for our forestry efforts. Those are coming. Those are showing fruitful outputs, and it wouldn't have happened without the support of the Rural Maryland Council, quite frankly. And on that note, I've been really impressed here in the last month or so, attending all sorts of different meetings with different points of focus, and I've been really impressed with how frequently I hear people bring up Rural Maryland Council. So I just thought I'd share that basically as a pat on the back to everybody. Rural Maryland Council is really an impactful organization that touches a lot of people for the better, and it's recognized. And I think we just had that demonstrated with the governor's budget, right? So moving on to the foundation, big news from the foundation is our strategic plan is essentially done. There's a few very, very minor formatting, cosmetic type changes that need to be completed, but otherwise the plan is complete, structured, and the essence of the plan is that the foundation is going to serve as a magnet for ideas, and we will then solicit whatever resources might be needed to pick up a good idea, investigate what it will take to make it work, and then craft the implementation plan for making that happen. And what the purpose for all that effort being, how can we feed into and support the efforts of the Rural Maryland Council? So it's a new day. We're going to figure this out. I'm sure that we'll have some points of struggle as we go, but that's okay. We learn by doing, and we're going to do. Other than that, Charlotte and I did meet with Mel Little at the Rural Summit. We had an impromptu meeting to discuss what's the status of the transfer of wealth. Invested a lot of time and money and thought into that. It's a shame to just let it sit there on the shelf. So how can we dust it off and put it into action? Charlotte organized an impromptu meeting at the summit that attracted quite a few people. And Charlotte and I met with some of the people following up from that. And too early to tell right now, but I'm very confident that we'll probably be able to use that transfer of interest in resurrecting our transfer of wealth as the first use of our brand new strategic plan and the protocols that we developed in that. So more to come on all of that is my conclusion to my report.
Thank you. Charlotte, I guess we're ready for an executive director's report.
Okay, I don't have too much. You've got our activity reports. We sent out previously to this meeting the 2022 calendar. So folks, please take a look at that of the different meetings. Also in the back at the bottom, we've got important events around the state that we attend, like the crab and clam bake and Mako. New to this year will be Delfest out in Cumberland during the Memorial Day weekend. So if folks are interested in attending any of those events, please let us know. We'll be happy to facilitate tickets to those. Also attached in the meeting materials was the 2021 annual report. I do need a vote on that one to accept the annual report.
Move to accept the report.
We have a second.
Second, this is Delegate Sample Hughes.
Thank you very much, Delegate. Any discussion on the annual report before we put it for a vote? Hearing none, all in favor of accepting the report, say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Hearing none. Charlotte, we've accepted the report.
Great, we will submit those. Last two things, we are working with the Regional Economic Studies Institute with Towson on economic impact of our grant program. So we hope to have a presentation for you all at the next board meeting on that. And then as part of the summit, outcomes of the summit, there's interest in convening a rural housing committee as well as a health committee. So if folks are interested in either of those two, please let me know, let the staff know, and we'll be happy to include you in that organizing. And that's all I've got. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Charlotte, do you see any hands raised? I don't have a full screen here.
I don't see any. Don't see any.
Okay. All right, moving on to new business. Do we have any suggestions or new business? I guess everybody's completely embroiled with the legislature. So if we don't have any suggestions for new business right now, I'd like to take a few minutes to move on and give our members or our organizational partners a chance to share maybe what's happening with their organization or what they're doing with Rural Maryland Council funded projects. Would anybody like to unmute and tell us a little bit about their projects?
I would.
Oh.
I'm Mindy Burgoyne from the Maryland Department of Commerce, and I'm just trying to find an appropriate time to say this, but I work for the Commerce covering the rural areas on the lower shore. So I have Dorchester on down, Worcester, Wetumpka, and Somerset. And I just want to say that working with the RMC and working with Charlotte, especially Charlotte, has had a huge impact on our small town economies. I mean, there's been so much funding go out, as well as technical support and marketing. I don't think we get a chance to say that to too many people. It's a remarkable organization for not only the funding, but for the technical assistance. And she's always there to help make that happen, always interested, very happy to get in the car and drive from Frederick to Crisfield or Princess Anne, or, so I just want to thank the council and thank Charlotte for that, because these small towns really do need the help, and they're a big part of the economy down here.
Thank you. We appreciate your support.
Hi, this is Linda Castrilli. I'm having some technical difficulties. I don't see me anywhere in the box, so hopefully you all can hear me.
We can.
You who don't know me, I work for Maryland Public Television, and we are very grateful to RMC for the grant that we received to help fund our season 9 of Maryland Farm and Harvest. And without your support, this would not be, we would not be able to complete season 9. We reached some milestones this year in that we have over 1 million YouTube hits, which was pretty impressive for us to see. Additionally, we have over 13 million viewers for the season. So we're absolutely thrilled. People love the show. We know this by all of the comments that we receive through email and through our social media outlets. It's very unusual for people to be so complimentary. Generally, they take their time if they're unhappy with something. So we're very pleased with that. And we're looking now to gain funding for season 10, which is unbelievable, because when we started this program 9 years ago, we had no idea what we're about to embark on. So I just want to thank you. I'm thrilled that we can help the agricultural community and get the word out. So thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to mention that my wife was just kind of wandering through the channels the other night, and we came on Farm and Harvest, and she watched the program with me. She's more of a suburbanite, and we enjoyed it very much. And then she said, "Oh, that's the RMC sponsoring that." So it's working well for everyone.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And of course, you can always go on to our website and you can view all of the season's episodes on there in case you missed them.
Thank you.
So this is Jamie from Kent County Economic and Tourism Development. And I did want to share that our YMCA just opened here in Chestertown, in the Chestertown Business Campus. And that is a project that was funded by the Rural Maryland Council for 3 years for the infrastructure. And we know without that support, that project would not have moved as quickly as it did. So it was very instrumental, along with some state programs that we were able to marry together to make that happen and to retain a major employer here in Kent County. And then to have a private organization come in with the YMCA of the Chesapeake and build a brand new facility here in Chestertown is game changing for us. And we are very thankful to the Rural Maryland Council for their support. And again, Mindy was right. The technical assistance you provide, you make it very easy if someone has never gone through that process before. And we thank you for that.
Thank you. And I don't want to tell you my age, but I have to say that when I was very young, I learned to swim at the YMCA. So it's an important organization for kids and for adults. We were glad to help.
John, this is Santo Grande. I'm sorry, I'm using my phone. I'm having trouble with the Zoom. But I just wanted to thank Charlotte for coming to our ribbon cutting for the Weinberg Intergenerational Center that we built in November. The ribbon cutting took place and Charlotte was there and we really appreciate it. But we also were able to highlight our children's playground area, brand new playground area, and the senior citizens exercise area outside at our new center, our intergenerational center. So we'll have a senior center and a child care center together. And thank you to the RMC, because you all are responsible for the playground areas, the children's playground area and the senior exercise area. So if it wasn't for RMC, we wouldn't have such a beautiful outdoor exercise area and children's playground area. So I just wanted to thank you and thank RMC and thank Charlotte for what you've done for Delmarva Community Services and the new Weinberg Intergenerational Center. So thank you very much. And I appreciate Charlotte taking the time to come and visit. Thank you.
Well, that's wonderful, and I do still owe you a visit this spring. I'm going to wait until the snow's over, but I will be coming over to your area in the spring. So I have seen the pictures, and it looks fantastic.
Oh, thank you, and we're looking for you coming, John. You've been promising this for a year now. So
I know, and I really I'm going to make it. Charlotte has had me visit some places I've never been before, and I owe you a visit, and it's still high on my list.
Anytime, you just come along, and we'll be happy to have you come by. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And any member of RMC, if you want to see the Intergenerational Center, it's in Cambridge, Maryland, right off of Route 50. It's about 2 miles down Route 16 towards Blackwater Wildlife Refuge. So it's a brand new Intergenerational Center. It's really a great project, and we're thrilled with it. So anybody's invited, and you could get our number through the RMC and give me a call. If somebody would like to come and visit or bring a group of people to see it, it's well worth the trip. So thank you again.
Hello,
Hi.
Charlotte.
Oh, can I just say real quick? Hi, I'm Catherine with NetGlow, and we got a grant from RMC, and just want to thank Charlotte for everything she's done for us. We're an IT company in ag tech, so we're helping farmers be compliant with FDA FSMA, as well as online sales and managing the farm, because it is really stressful. So we just want to say a huge shout out to RMC. We really appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
And I heard Jerry McLaren. We called for you earlier, Jerry. Thanks for making it.
I'm sorry.
That's
Thank
okay.
you, Charlotte. How you guys doing today? Happy New Year to everyone. Charlotte, I was wondering, Sandy and I was talking about, do you guys have, we ever thought about Rural Maryland Day for students?
I would love to do that. It's a challenge to get them there. I'm happy to talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's something we need to hash out, because I think it would be something wonderful for the Eastern Shore, for all the students to be able to get together, during the summertime, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, while they out, right before they go back to school, maybe, and have something like that, I think that's something that we need to talk about.
Sure. Okay, have to.
I like that idea a lot, Charlotte. We got to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Perfect. Well, just let me know, Charlotte.
Okay.
Do we have anyone else who'd like to speak?
And did our elected officials, Delegate Sample Hughes or Senator Eckert, want to say anything?
Just add greetings. Thanks for all the good work. I was just going to suggest when we talk about housing, Charlotte, could maybe we think about or look at innovative ideas to deal with the homeless in the rural areas along with housing.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for your good work. It looks like a very good year.
Again, good afternoon, everybody. Charlotte, what I would probably just add is just letting everybody know that I'm still very appreciative of the assistance that this group provided with our loan assistance repayment program for our physicians, and trying to make sure we have additional medical providers in the rural communities. As a result of that work and the passage of that bill, we do have the report from the work group that was formed, and the recommendations. And recommendations, just to summarize, it provides us a good bandwidth of expanding our efforts and looking to provide that level of assistance, and even more so throughout the state, and specifically our rural communities. So I have a bill that will implement, hopefully we'll pass it, but implement those policies and those recommendations, because we look to other states such as Alaska, California, with some other ones that have really good working programs to address their rural issues with medical providers. So there will be an opportunity for you to provide a letter of support for that piece of legislation at its given time. And more than likely, it'll be in Health and Government Operations Committee. Thank you.
Charlotte, hey, it's Nan from Senator Van Hollen's office. Good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to tell everybody that my colleague, Melissa Kelly, is also on the call. She's Eastern Shore representative. I'm Western Region representative. And if there's anything that we can ever do to be of service to any of you, please reach out. We're always available, and we're always just a phone call away. And I will put our information in the chat.
Great.
Great.
We always appreciate our work. I don't know if any of the other federal representatives that are here want to.
Hi, Charlotte. It's Kimberly Cradaville. Yes, I echo Nan and Melissa. We are here to help. We've been conducting earmark or congressionally directed spending conversations across the state, and anyone on the call, if you have projects that you'd like to address, please feel free to reach out. We're here. Thank you.
And hi, Charlotte. This is Mike Arntz with Congressman Harris's office. I'll just round out the congressional support. We make a great team of supporting anything you guys do.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I saw Senator Edwards joined us. No, Senator, if you want to say a few words.
Yeah, I've been on Zooms about all day. Sorry, I'm late getting in, so I'm just tuning in. You know, if you need anything, holler.
Well, thank you for coming.
I'd like to add a few things, if I may. My name is Peter Bozick. I'm a practicing engineer in the water sewer business for 47 years on the Lower Eastern Shore with rural towns and rural areas. I say hi to the senators and the congressmen and the delegates who I've had the pleasure of meeting and work with, and I know how supportive you are. I want to say thank you that where we work with the city of Pocomoke, they did receive funding for their pump station upgrade project, and I just want to. I came on this meeting to learn a little bit more about the resources you might have to address or help with water sewer issues, utility issues on the lower shore and in rural areas. And in particular, I'm in a unique position that that I see the intersection between public health, protection of the environment, and economic stability or economic investment. And these projects are very challenging, in our areas to get implemented, but so desperately needed. And I just want to raise awareness of that. And, I'll probably be talking to some of you, down the road as we try to implement these projects. But, we're looking at, new paradigms now in water and sewer utilities, particularly when you couple it with broadband and some of the other advances in the Internet of Things. And, I just hope everyone can work together to make it happen. I know it's desperately needed on the Lower Eastern Shore because we're also, facing sea level rise issues and climate change issues, which is impacting the ability of on-site septic systems to function at all. On the one hand, on the other hand, some of these, particularly these rural areas, that are serviced by, we call them rural villages, and essentially what distinguishes them is they don't have a council, they're not incorporated, but they have a post office. But generally these areas have homes that are 50, 60, 70 years old that are eventually going to be 80, 90, and 100 years old. And they will not be able to rely on septic systems, to replace their system. So it's, I just want to bring everybody's attention to that. And I thank the senators and delegates at the state level and the federal level, who have been supportive of me when I've talked to them. And we'll be talking again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'm somewhat aware of that issue, and I sit on the Patuxent River Commission for the state of Maryland, and that waterfront sea level rise has certainly been an issue in parts of St. Mary's County. And, we're paying attention to it. If we can do anything to facilitate conversations, maybe to get people on both sides of the bay engaged, we would love to do that. Anyone else, Charlotte?
I don't see any hands raised.
I do want to, I'm going to be the last one then. I do want to mention that the Rural Maryland Council provided the Southern Maryland Heritage Area through our organization seed money to start the process of becoming a national heritage area. There is a House bill and the Senate bill. The House bill to make us a national heritage area was put in by Representative Hoyer, and in the Senate it was, I think, co-sponsored by both Senator Van Hollen and Senator Ben Cardin. So it's up to a point. We've completed a feasibility study, and we're just waiting on action by the National Park Service, and we are expecting that, and there's a pretty fair chance we might get through this legislative session. It all started with money from the RMC about 2 years ago. So thanks for them helping us get that funding started. And a lot of support has come from the state of Maryland as well. So that's all I have. Charlotte, if we don't have any more business, I think we might be ready for a motion. Is that correct?
I don't have anything else unless anybody else does. But as always, if folks have questions or things that come up during the interim, please reach out to the office. Like Mindy said, I will go anywhere throughout this state and talk to anybody. So if anybody knows the folks that are interested, we're happy to talk.
Okay. And it's very hard for me to find a place where Charlotte hasn't been. So she knows the state better than almost anybody I know. So with that, I will call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Steve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thanks, everybody.
Thank you
safe.
for coming. We really
Yes.
appreciate it.
Stay safe this weekend.
Bye-bye.
I have to go out and move my car real quick, but I'll hang out for anybody that wants to ask me any questions.